Okay fellows out there, welcome to lecture 6 module 1 of my video series on introduction to data structures in C. So today we will be talking about structures and unions. Before going to structures and unions, let's just recap on whatever we have studied in my previous lecture, that is arrays. Arrays, as we know, is nothing but a pile of similar data types stacked together. The concept of arrays basically not only eased our life in defining these data members or variables, but also made it very easy to initialize them and basically access them using the indices of the array. The limitations of array is that we can use arrays only to stack up or store similar kind of data elements. For example, you can have an array of integers, or you can have an array of characters, and so on. But what if we want to basically pile up or stack different type of data together? Arrays can't basically address this problem. So this is where structures come into picture. Now what are structures? Structure allow the user to club different type of data together. The way in which structure is defined is as given out here. So first, initially we declare a structure by giving the keyword struct. So here we have a structure called as book. So we define the structure, or we declare the structure rather, not define, declare the structure saying struct book. Now this book structure basically has three types of data. One is a character, one is a floating point, and one is an integer. Taking into account that you want to store some information about this book, say you want to store the name of the book, the price of the book, and the number of pages that it has. Now these three informations basically fall into three different category of data types. The pages, as we know, is an integer data type, the price can be a floating point data type, and the name of the book is a string or a character array. So we have a problem where we need to basically stock or stack different types of data into one bundle, or we need one placeholder to basically place all these three types of data together. So this is where structure comes into picture. So we define the structure as struct book, and in this book structure I have three different data types with the name, price, and pages, where name stands for the name of the book, price of the book, and the number of pages that it has. Mind you, this type of declaration basically doesn't allow or enable the computer or the compiler to reserve any memory space. It just declares that there is a data type called as book, which is nothing but a structure which can hold three different data types, one of character, one of float, and one of integer. Usually, the other point to note is usually these structures are declared at the top of the source code. So you declare them on top of your source code immediately after your global declarations or definitions. So that is where you basically declare the struct. So basically it is being declared in the global declaration part of your C code. Remember, the global declaration part sits above the main program of your the main program that you intend to write. Okay, so that is where the struct has to be declared. Fine. So once you declare the structure, basically you can initialize them as well. So structure can be initialized very similar to that of an array by basically using a curly braces. So given out here is how you basically define an element or an object of this struct book. So you have a struct defined out there, normally declared. This is a local declaration. You can have a global as well. Okay, so normally it is either declared in the beginning part of your main code, but I strongly recommend you that if you are using any struct, make it global and keep it on top of the main code. So once you declare the structure, then you basically create an object out of this structure. So suppose you want to create one book. So I say struct book B1. B1 stands for first book. Now this book 1 can basically be initialized as well. So the name of the book is character. Okay, one character. Right now it's a hypothetical code, so I kept it as one single character. So the name of the book is B. The price of the book is 130 rupees and the number of pages that it contains is 550. So this is how you declare a structure and you define an element of the structure, say B1 in this case. Different elements of the structure, namely the name, price and pages, can be accessed using the dot operator. So you can reference the element of the structure using the dot operator. So you can print out the name once the structure has been initialized and you have basically defined an object out of the structure. You can print out the name of the structure or the address of the individual elements as well. So what is given out here is I am basically printing out the address of the name, address of price and address of page. Mind you, I am using the ampersand operator, so I am basically printing out the address where the name, the price and the pages information of the struct B1 is being stored. So you can use the dot operator to access the address of the individual elements. You can basically use the dot operator in order to access the values contained by this element as well. So here I am printing out the name of the book, %C since it is name is a character, then %F since price is a floating point, and similarly number of pages is an integer. So you can address the address of the elements, you can address the address, basically address. Okay, you can print out the address of the element using the ampersand operator and the dot operator, or you can basically print out the values in each of these elements of the structure as well. Mind you, when you look into this memory locations that have been printed out, take into account that similar to that of an array, these elements are stored in consecutive memory locations. Okay, and depending on the compiler or the type of operating system that you are using, you might be surprised that the character which we know take 1 byte of memory might take a little bit more when it is been put inside a structure. Now this is called as structure padding. Okay, so the amount of memory required to store all these 3 types might be the same or maybe a little bit more than the memory required to store them individually. Say in this case, character requires 1 byte, floating point requires 4 byte, integer requires 4 byte. So 4 plus 4 8, 8 plus 9. So the total memory required to store this informations individually is 9 bytes. However, when you put it inside a structure, the entire size of the structure might be a bit more than what is required to store them individually. This is because the compiler needs to basically align this data one below the other in continuous memory locations. So it does some kind of a padding so that we have a proper alignment of these data. So this is called as structural padding. So that's it about structures. Fine. So this is the output that I get when I run this code on my compiler. You see the address of name starts at 36, okay, and the address of price starts at 40. So basically I expected it to give 1 byte for the character. However, the compiler has allocated 4 bytes for this, and similarly 4 bytes for the price, the float value as well. Okay, and another 4 bytes are being allocated for the pages, okay, which starts at 044. Okay, and what you get out of this is this. So the name of the book is B, the price is 130 and the number of pages are 550. So this is what I get in my machine. You might get different values on yours depending on the operating system or the compiler that you are using to run this code. Now what are unions? Unions are basically, you can think of unions as special case of data types or a special case of structures which are available in C that allows the user to store different data types in the same memory location. Structure basically stored them in different memory locations, whereas union stores all these data into the same memory location. And the value of or the size of the location that is required for a union is that equivalent to that of the maximum memory required to store the element of the data. So whichever element takes the maximum memory location to store, so that is the memory location or that is the size of the memory that is being allotted to the union. Union provides an efficient way of using the same memory location for storing multiple data types. Memory occupied by the union will be large enough to hold the largest member of the union. So that is what I said just now. Given here is a sample code where I have a structure and a union, and I am basically printing out the size of the structure as well as the size of the union. So here I have my preprocessor directive include #stdio.h. Then I basically declare a union using the keyword union. Okay, so the way in which structure and unions are accessed and defined or declared are almost the same, except for the keyword union for declaring the union and the keyword struct to declare the struct. Okay, so here I have a union called as union job, and this union job has three data types. One is a string or a character array, the second one is a float, and the third one is an integer. So similarly I have another struct which is being declared out here. Okay, so the name of the structure is struct job. Again this struct has three different data types very similar to that of the union that is being defined or declared. Okay, so using this two declarations and definitions, okay, of union and structure, let me print out the size of the memory which is required to store information into the union and to store information into the structure. Okay, mind you, the size of function can be used on the data types. Similarly, you can get to know what is the size of an integer or what is the size allocated, how many memories are required to store an integer by just giving size of integer. So size of functionality can be associated with the object or a variable, or it can be associated with the data type as well. So here, mind you, there is no object or variable which has been declared or defined from the declaration of union job and struct job. So I'm not basically instantiating any kind of a object from these two data types. What am I doing is I'm just getting to know what would be the size of the memory which the compiler would allocate if I create a object or a variable out of this union job, and what is the size of memory that the compiler would allocate if I create an object or a variable out of the struct job. You can as well as create the object and use the size of operator on it, or else if you just want to know what is the memory requirement, you can directly use the size of functionality on the data type itself. So here there are two user defined data type, one is a union and the other one is a structure. Okay, so once I use this size of operator on the data type union job and size of operator on the data type struct job, I get to know what is the memory allotted by the compiler for each of these data types. Okay, as you can see, the size of union is 32 bytes, whereas the size of structure is 40 bytes. That is 8 bytes addition to that of the union. Now why is that? If you look into this particular definition of memory that is required, for a union, we can see that this character array requires 32 bytes of memory. So it can store 32 characters, so it requires basically 32 bytes of memory. So the memory requirement of this variable in the union is 32. The memory requirement of this variable in the union is 4, and this is 4. So the total memory allotted for this union is basically 32. That is, these two variables in the union are using the same memory space as allotted for the character variable name or the character array. Whereas for a struct, the memory requirement of this is again 32, and for this it is 4, and this it is 4. But in a structure, they are stored in consecutive memory locations, one below the other. So the total memory requirement of this structure is basically 40, whereas for the union it is just 32 bytes. Okay, so you might wonder, basically, where do I use this union? Where is this union used? Okay, so given out here is a example where you might find application of union to be very effective. Suppose you have a problem where you are used to, or you are asked to basically print out, you have a big data type, say a long int num. So a long int basically takes up 16 bytes of memory, 16 bytes, and you want to analyze this 1 byte at a time. You want to analyze this 1 byte at a time. Okay, so you basically you want to split this 16 bytes of memory into 16 parts, and you want to peep into each of these bytes and get to know what is the information stored in out here. So this is the task that you are interested in. Obviously you can use a character pointer, and then you can basically instantiate, or you can map this pointer to this memory location, and then get to know what is the information stored byte by byte instead of all the 16 bytes together. However, this can be made much simpler if you use a union. Okay, so in this code I have used a union called as an example. It has two variables. One is a long int, which is num, and then I have a character array, okay, which is 8 bytes. Fine. Okay, so here I create an object out of this union example called as example E, and I initialize the name variable of this structure, or sorry, union, by a value 127. So your entire memory location which is allotted, which is say 8 bytes, long takes long int takes 16 bytes, sorry. So you have a memory location of say 16 bytes. Okay, and what is the value stored in the 16 bytes of memory? It is 127. So 127 is stored in the 16 bytes of memory. Okay, so you do not want to read all the 16 bytes together and get to know what is stored in it. That is obviously 127. You want to know what is stored in each byte of this 16 bytes of memory. Okay, so what you can do is you can just print out the value of num. That's fine. That reads all the 16 bytes together and prints out 127. Also, what you can do if you are interested in getting to know what is stored in individual byte is put a for loop and then print out the bytes one after another. Okay, so by doing that you will be printing 1 byte at a time, 1 byte at a time. Okay, So that is where you can basically use a union to get insight into the value stored into this memory to a greater depth. So this is one typical example. There are many other examples where you might find union to be very useful. Hope that this lecture has shed some light on structures and unions and how to declare them, how to instantiate an object from them or define a variable from them, and basically use them as well. Thank you for being with me and stay tuned for my next lecture on this video series. Thank you.